come ride with me. It's time to saddle up right away. There's so much to see. Don't worry, I know the trails, I know the way.
Hello, this is Daniel Dauphin with Dauphin Horsemanship. We're here today to talk about stallion manners. This is a 3-year-old thoroughbred stallion. I've just had him for right at 2 weeks, I think. And I've done this procedure with him one time about a week ago, but we're kind of doing it on steroids today. I do believe things need to be ever increasing. One of the things that I'm always evaluating for is a stallion's ability to give his mind to me. One of those things that you'll hear people complain about a lot when training a stallion is that this horse has got a ton of potential and he's very athletic or whatever, but I just can't get him to give me his whole mind. He gives me 80%, but I can't get the rest. That's one of those things we need to be evaluating for throughout the process when we're training a stallion. And you know, the vast majority of the time, the answer is going to be this horse needs to be a gelding. This one will be going on to the track here in a couple more weeks. And so anyway, I thought we'd do this. He is going to need to be living a life with other horses. You'll notice he's not a very vocal horse. But let me talk about this just a second. If you've watched my colt starting video with the little Palomino Gray Ranch stallion, we did wind up cutting him, and he was actually selected to be a gelding before we'd even started that video. It was just a timing thing. But that horse was quite bowed up for a stallion. He was kind of there all the time, but very, very quiet. He was not a vocal horse. I bet he didn't squeal 5 times in several months around here. So just because a horse is really vocal doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to make a good stallion. Just because one is very quiet does not mean that they have the brain to be a stallion. I've run across several horses like that little Palomino that were extremely bowed up, but not at all vocal. So don't base every thought on stallions on how vocal they are. Now, we've got, I don't know, 10 or 12 horses here in the arena with us. The majority of these horses are mares, including the little pony mare that you'll see in here. These horses they range quite a bit in what they do. Several of these are my personal horses. This is Curly, my bridleless and bareback demo horse right here behind me. I've also got a Lusitano gelding over there that's one of mine, but I've only had him a few days. I haven't even saddled or ridden him yet. So we have a pretty broad range of what's in the arena with. Some of these horses are very, very, very broke. Some of them aren't broke at all, including this. Like I said, I've got about 2 weeks on this colt here. But so what is the deal about a stallion and how we're going to work him here? The thing to me it all boils down to is his attention. If I can have this horse focusing on me, then he's not going to be running around like an idiot. If I have a hard time gaining and maintaining his attention, then he needs to be a gelding. So this is a pretty good little challenge. Now I've got my flag here. Because I'm working on attention stuff, you're not going to see me really doing any desensitizing. I don't want to do that at all. I am sensitizing. When this horse's attention leaves me, he tries to lock onto another horse, I'm going to be purposefully scaring him with this flag. Okay? So let's just kind of lead him around and see what we get. One other thing I want y'all to take note of is I don't have a stud shank on this horse, just a regular halter. I'm also not leading him around like this. That would be showing a lack of confidence on my part. I'm giving him a few feet of slack and I'm expecting him, so he's basically just hooked to me and walking along in here. I have owned several stallions in my lifetime. I've never, as young prospects coming up, I've never had one that I felt like was good enough to remain a stallion, so I've gelded all of them. But were this to be a horse I was planning on being a stallion for me, I would fully expect to be able to do all of this at liberty with him as well. He should stay hooked to me through the middle of all of these horses. I'm going to move a couple of these mares around now. We even have a foal. Scarlett from the halter breaking video is our guest appearance here today. All right. And really, I don't have a single complaint about this horse so far. This is all pretty nice. Now we've got him kind of prancing a little. So I'm just going to bring his attention back. So that gray mare is kind of prancing around, tempting him to do the same. But I just want to show him real quick I'm not going to tolerate that. Now I've changed sides here. I want to lead him from this side as well, which of course he's not as good at. All goes hand in hand with having two sides of the horse, a left horse and a right horse. I don't want to only be in control of him when I'm there on that left side. I also want to have just as much control of him here on the right side. All right, we're going to move him around a little bit more. I will mention this is completely a cold working on this horse. He's not been warmed up in the least. Just pulled him straight out and brought him out here. Haven't even brushed him. Okay. And very nice. He came right down with my energy right there. I'm not going to get into a full-blown lunging deal here. Again, all I'm really concerned with is his attention, whether he's staying with me or trying to leave me, and indulge his stallion side. So we'll go kind of poke the herd again. He's kind of leaving me. I'm just going to stop abruptly, and he didn't stop with me. Good. This is a great exercise to use for horses even that aren't stallions. If you have a horse that's maybe a very submissive horse in the herd, taking them through the herd like so and driving these other horses away for them can really help boost that horse's confidence level and also his belief in your leadership. You're kind of getting him some relief for these horses that might be picking on him on a regular basis. What the deal is with that gray mare today? That's Blue Satana. For those of you that may not recognize that breed, that's Satana. We've been riding her, I guess not quite 2 months. We're actually going to be using her in another video here pretty quick. Okay, so far this colt is kind of passing this with flying colors. One thing about stallions that I find people do really commonly that they shouldn't is they try to keep them isolated. And all that tends to do is make them rancor and rancor. Like this colt, he kind of lives in the round pen. I'd rather not keep one in the stall if I can help it so he can move around. So at night he's just loose in the round pen. That's where I feed him. During the day he's tied up where he can view lots of horses. There's even a paddock that's directly across from him where he can get nose to nose with another horse even while he's tied. And you can see he's not exhibiting massive stallion behaviors. You keep him isolated, he never gets to see a horse. and then all of a sudden they see one, that's when they tend to go nuts. This colt, I kind of have bigger fish to fry with him at the moment, but I'm about ready to even ride him in a pen like this with horses. I tend to do that with all of my colts, ride them with loose horses. Again, it's just a test of can I maintain their attention even though this is going on over here, and even through a herd when we're loping around and things like that. Be just as important for a stallion. He needs to have those manners. If he can't handle that sort of thing, he's not a stallion. He's a gelding. You just haven't met him. Let's make one more pass through the horses. We'll see if we can provoke a reaction. If not, then I'm kind of done with this little exercise for this horse for today. Again, if I had a real submissive horse, this would be a great thing to do with them, just to build their confidence, drive these horses. I will do this when I'm riding a colt as well, particularly submissive one. When I'm the one on the horse, that horse should assume my dominance. So I can get on the most submissive horse in this herd and drive them around. Not because the other horses are less dominant than the one I'm riding, but because they're less dominant than me. All right, this colt, he's dragging behind me a little bit here. But all in all, that's not too bad.
Not too bad.
There he kind of wants to sniff.
Not too bad.
But he came right back to me. He's also licking and chewing behind me right there. So, pretty successful run. Really and truly, I have no idea how fast this horse is going to run or anything. But mentally, I really like him pretty well. If I were going to go run him on the track, I would probably leave him a stallion for the time being. I don't see anything right now that's a red flag that tells me he needs to be a gelding. He really seems to be handling himself pretty well, in fact. So, all right. There's a few tips on stallions and stallion manners. Please check out our Facebook page and our website, dauphinhorsemanship.com, and like and subscribe our videos. Thank you much. Have a great day. I thought we'd have a little follow-up on the stallion manners video. The horse that I worked for you yesterday did a little too well. I was very pleased with how he handled the situation, but unfortunately for what I was trying to do, he didn't really give me much cause to do anything about it. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about that today, how I would handle a horse that wasn't handling the situation well. The main thing is to give him a change each time. It's really not that different from handling a horse that's really checking out everything but me. I lunged him there for just a circle or two, I think, but that's sort of the thing. If he were to pick that head up and prick those ears and be concentrating on those mares over there, I'm going to bring him back here and put him to work and do something with him. What I do with him is not really that important. The thing is to get his focus back on me and not over there. If you can control that horse's focus, then taking a stallion around and going to town with him and showing him and all is really not going to be any kind of a problem. Assuming he is a horse that does have the mentality to be a stallion. One of the things I'll say, probably the most common way that people handle that is a horse hollers and they'll go to jerk it on lead rope and send him running backwards. And I cannot tell you how many stallions I've seen they'll holler and immediately throw their head up and run backwards, and they're squealing the whole time. That's just not a very effective way of doing it. It may work on a few horses, but by and large, that's a very poor technique. Putting them to work and whatnot is a much better way. Now, as a trainer, I think you'll find most trainers are going to be a lot more inclined to cut one than a lot of owners are. I know I've certainly been had to ride horses as a stallion a lot longer than I wanted to on many occasions when we had kind of all decided this one needed to be a gelding. But sort of my big gun, if we have one that's
not easily fitting into the program. This is kind of the extreme end. If this doesn't work within a couple of weeks, then he really needs to be good. But let's assume that we've got the horse rideable and all of that at this point. We'll have them saddled most of the day, all day, and anytime they squeal, we're going to go hop on him and go run him around for about 30 minutes or so, and run him pretty hard. I want him at the end of that just, you know, really work him, and then go put him up or tempt him. You know, go get him around a mirror or something. If he hollers again, right back on him in another 30 minutes. And you may do that 5 or 6 times a day for the first little bit, and that horse may lose 100 pounds in those 2 weeks just from being worked so hard. But he should learn, if he's got any kind of a brain at all, that when he acts like that, it gets him into a whole lot of work. And way more than the little bit of lunging I did to this horse in here, it gets him into a lot of work. And if at that point in time he can't figure that out, and he can't gain control of himself, he needs to be a gelding. I mean, it's just that simple. I think that a stallion should always be the total package. I know one of the things I'm trying to run, I'm a board member of the Louisiana Equine Council, and my pet project for this year is setting up a low-cost castration clinic, because I go on Facebook and we've got all these horses for sale, free or cheap or whatever, and those things are just slap full of young studs that don't even have papers. If a horse doesn't have papers, immediately a gelding. No question. I don't care what else is going on, gelding. All he's going to do is produce a bunch of horses that nobody wants, and they're going to be of low economic value, and you're perpetuating a cycle right there. If he's not registered, and on top of that, he really needs to have a good pedigree, not a third generation grandson of some horse that was famous. He should be an own son of some horse that's famous and out of a mare that did some stuff as well. So stallion needs to have that pedigree, darn sure needs to be registered. And I don't care if he's an Arab, a paint, a quarter horse, or what, that applies. A horse that's going to be a good stallion prospect needs to have the physical attributes, the conformation, the color, the chrome, the whole package. You know, a real plain looking stallion, or one that's kind of ugly headed, is just not going to be favored by people to breed to. Now, if he was just an extreme performer, I mean just an extremely talented horse, and he had a little bit of an ugly head, well, I would certainly keep him around and maybe do a test crop of foals or two and see what he produced. But by and large, a stallion needs to be an attractive animal, and definitely good conformation. You know, if there's a flaw in there, parrot mouth or bad knees or something, or maybe you find as you train this horse, we have you know, he has a tendency to go lame multiple times, so stifle problems or something. A lot of that stuff can be genetic. You know, that would be cause to cut. And then the third thing is the actual performance of the animal. A stallion, a true stallion prospect, should be a top 2% sort of a horse. There was a trainer that I apprenticed under. His saying was that stallions should be like the governor, one in every state. And I think you'll find a lot of trainers are going to be that way. We generally feel there's way too many stallions out there, particularly when you get a local hero who's throwing a bunch of horses that you'd rather not ride, and you spend your life riding colts out of a horse you think should never have had a single colt in the first place. So that's my spiel on stallions. Right now, the horse market all over the country is poor. There's really, you know, we really should be cutting almost everything at this point in time. There are some really good proven stallions out there that you could breed to for next to nothing if you're really in the mind to get a horse and raise a baby and all that good stuff. So, you know, I would say very, very darn few people have any business with a stallion at this point in time. We don't need to be mass producing anything right now. You know, we've got all these rescues that are full, and you know, all of those issues. It's really pretty irresponsible to be adding to the pile if you know you're not breeding a truly exceptional animal on all fronts. So All right, that's my spiel on stallions. I hope y'all have gotten something out of it. I hope I don't come across too pessimistic, but when you've had to deal with a few hundred of these things, they're not that different. I mean, really, it's the same basic principles you apply to every horse. They just have an extra zone of things that attract their attention that you have to deal with. So, having a stallion is not that big of a deal. I know a lot of people get into it. They want to be riding a stud because it's cool and it's macho and it's all this BS, and it's really not. It's a pain in the butt. That's what it is. So cut almost everything. That's my advice to you. All right. Thank you much. Have a good morning.